Tom was sitting at the kitchen table, enjoying the aroma of freshly brewed coffee. The morning sun was shining through the curtains, flooding the room with soft light. Tom took a sip from his mug and looked at Emma sitting across from him. Her eyes shone with joy, and her smile seemed to light up the whole world. They had been married for 5 years, but every day with her was like a new adventure for Tom. "Good morning, darling," Emma said, her voice melodious and warm. "Good morning, sweetheart," Tom replied, smiling back. "How did you sleep?" "Fine, thanks." "And you?" Tom put down his mug and reached out to touch her fingers. "Every day is like a dream with you." Emma laughed. Her laugh was infectious, and Tom couldn't help but smile wider. "You're always such a romantic," she said, stroking his hand. "I can't stop wondering how lucky I am to have you." Tom leaned over and kissed her gently on the cheek. Their conversation was light and relaxed. They recalled their first meeting at a friend's wedding, the whirlwind of romance that swept them, and the path they had traveled together. "Do you remember how we met?" Emma asked, her eyes sparkling with memories. "Of course I remember. You were the most beautiful girl at that wedding. I just couldn't take my eyes off it," Tom replied, his voice filled with warmth. "And I remember how you came up to me and said, 'You are the most beautiful woman I have ever seen.' It was so brave and unexpected." Emma laughed again. "Just couldn't pass up the chance." Tom winked at her. And as it turned out, it was the right decision. Emma leaned towards him, their faces very close to each other. "I love you, Tom," she said, her voice barely audible. "I love you too, Emma," Tom replied, and they kissed tenderly. But somewhere in the depths of Tom's soul, anxiety began to arise. He tried not to show it, but he couldn't get rid of the feeling that something was going wrong. Emma noticed that his gaze had become more thoughtful. "Is everything all right, Tom?" she asked, her voice filled with concern. Tom quickly looked away and tried to smile. "Yes, everything is fine. I'm just a little tired at work," he lied, trying to calm himself down. "You can always tell me what's bothering you," Emma said, her eyes full of sympathy. "I know, honey, thanks. It's just that there's a lot to do today." Tom squeezed her hand, trying to convince not only her, but also himself. Emma nodded, but the worry in her eyes did not disappear. "Then I'll cook you something special for dinner so you can relax," she offered, trying to dispel the tension. "That'll be great," Tom smiled, although anxiety continued to gnaw at him from the inside. They finished breakfast, and Tom kissed Emma goodbye before leaving for work. Sitting in the car, he couldn't get these thoughts out of his head. He tried to focus on the road, but the echoes of doubt continued to haunt him. At work, Tom ran into colleagues who were always friendly, but today their gazes seemed strangely scrutinizing. As he passed his boss's office, he heard whispers and muffled laughter. "Hi, Tom. How are you?" Jim asked his colleague, coming up to him. "Hi, Jim. Yes, it's fine. And you?" Tom tried not to show his concern. "Fine too, thanks," Jim replied, but his gaze was wary. "Listen, if something happens, you can always talk to me." "Thanks, Jim. But really, it's okay." Tom smiled, but couldn't shake the feeling that he was being watched. During the day, he caught the stares of colleagues more than once and heard snatches of conversation as he passed by. This only increased his anxiety, and he realized that he had to deal with what was happening. In the evening, returning home, Tom felt exhausted. He needed to talk to Emma, but he was afraid of what he might hear. When he entered the house, Emma greeted him with a smile. "Hello, my love. How was your day? What is it?" she asked, hugging him. "Hi, Emma." Tom sighed and sat down on the couch. "We need to talk." Emma became alert, her eyes filled with concern. "What's wrong, Tom?" she asked, sitting down next to him. Tom looked into her eyes, his heart racing. "I heard something at work," Gossips. About us, he began trying to find the words. I just want to understand what's going on. Emma looked at him, her eyes filled with tears. Tom, you should know that I love you more than anything in the world. I would never do anything to betray you. Her voice trembled. Tom squeezed her hand, his heart bursting with conflicting emotions. I believe you, Emma, but these doubts, they're bothering me, he said, trying to calm down. Emma leaned toward him, their faces so close that Tom could feel her breathing. We'll get through this, Tom. Together. I promise, her words were full of determination. Tom nodded, and they hugged. There were still doubts inside him. The morning light filtered through the office windows again, flooding the rooms with a soft glow. Tom was sitting at his desk, trying to focus on his work. But the thought of talking to Emma last night haunted him. He glanced at the monitor, but the lines of text blurred before his eyes. Doubts, like poisonous seeds, began to sprout in his mind. Hi, Tom. Jim, his colleague, suddenly appeared next to him. How are you today? Tom started in surprise and tried to concentrate. Oh, hi, Jim. Yes, it's fine, he replied, trying to look nonchalant. Jim frowned and sat down on the edge of Tom's desk. You don't look okay, friend. Something happened. Tom sighed and rubbed his temples, trying to cope with the influx of thoughts. To be honest, I don't know, he finally said. I'm just a little tired, I guess. Jim looked at him sympathetically. If you need to talk, I'm always here, he offered. You know, rumors and gossip can unsettle anyone. These words made Tom wary. Rumors. Here it is. He had already heard the whispers and noticed the stares of his colleagues. But what exactly are they saying? What do you mean? What is it? He asked, trying not to show his concern. Jim shook his head. Well, you know how it is. People love to chat. But you shouldn't take everything seriously. His voice was soft, but there was a sense of seriousness in it. Tom nodded, trying to calm down, but Jim's words only increased his anxiety. Tom caught the stares of his colleagues several times during the day. Every time he passed by groups of employees, the conversation subsided, and he could feel the tension building. He tried to focus on his work, but thoughts of what was going on behind his back wouldn't let him go. When the lunch break came, Tom decided to go to a cafe around the corner, hoping that a change of scenery would help him distract himself. When he entered the cafe, he saw his friend and colleague Lucas sitting at a table by the window. Hi, Tom. Have a seat, Lucas called to him, waving his hand. Tom took his coffee and sat down across from him. How are you, Lucas? What is it? He asked, trying to strike up a casual conversation. Not bad, Lucas replied, but his gaze was wary. Listen, Tom, I need to tell you something. Tom tensed, expecting the worst. What happened? His voice was low but strained. Lucas paused as if gathering his thoughts. I heard colleagues talking about you and Emma. I do not know if this is true or not, but I think you should know, he began, trying to choose his words. Tom felt his heart constrict. And what do they say? What is it? He asked, trying not to show his concern. Lucas looked him straight in the eye. They say that Emma was allegedly seen with another man. I do not know the details, but this has been discussed for several days. His words were like a punch in the gut. Tom froze, not knowing what to say. Lucas's words echoed in his head, causing a storm of emotions. It's just a rumor, Tom. People like to talk, especially when they're jealous, Lucas added, seeing his condition. Tom nodded, but couldn't shake the gnawing doubts. He needed to talk to Emma again, but how? In the evening, when he returned home, Emma greeted him with a smile, but Tom noticed a shadow of concern in her eyes. How was your day? What is it? She asked, helping him take off his coat. I'm fine, he replied, trying to hide his tension. We need to talk, Emma. Emma tensed, feeling that the conversation would be difficult. Of course, Tom. What happened? What is it? She asked, sitting down next to him on the sofa. Tom took her hand, his heart pounding. I heard something at work. People say you've been seen with another man. I don't want to believe it, but these rumors haunt me. His voice trembled. Emma looked at him with surprise and pain. Tom, it's just a rumor. You know that I love you and will never betray you. Her eyes filled with tears. Tom squeezed her hand, trying to calm her and himself. I want to believe you, Emma. But these doubts, they're eating away at me from the inside, he said softly. Emma leaned toward him, their faces so close that Tom could feel her warmth. We'll get through this, Tom. Together, I promise. Her voice was full of determination. Tom nodded, and they hugged. But there were still doubts inside him that wouldn't let him rest. He needed to figure out what was going on and find out the truth in order to bring peace back to their family. The next day, when Tom came to work, Jim met him with a wary look. Hi, Tom. How are you? What is it? He asked, watching his friend's reaction. Hi, Jim. It's okay, Tom replied, but his voice was strained. Jim frowned. Have you heard anything new? Tom asked, trying not to show his concern. Yes, people keep talking, but I wouldn't give it much thought. Jim replied. You need to talk to Emma and find out in person. Tom nodded, realizing that Jim was right. He needed to act to get rid of his doubts once and for all. That evening, sitting on the couch next to Emma, Tom felt the tension between them grow. Emma, I need to know the truth. I can't live in doubt, he began, his voice trembling. Emma looked at him with love and determination. Tom, I will never betray you. We'll get through this together, she said, and Tom felt the tension begin to ease. But he knew that this was just the beginning. He will have to find out the truth and restore trust in their relationship. Another stressful week has passed, full of doubts and worries. Tom increasingly felt his insecurities corroding his relationship with Emma. Finally, he made a decision that could help him sort out these doubts, once and for all. One evening, after a long day at work, Tom returned home and found Emma in the kitchen. She was cooking dinner, humming her favorite tune. Her calmness and joy had always been a source of comfort to him, but now he felt alienated and unable to enjoy these moments. Hello, my love, Emma exclaimed happily when she noticed him. How was your day? Tom forced a smile and replied, Hi, Emma. It was a difficult day. Can I talk to you? Her face immediately changed, reflecting concern. She turned off the stove and turned to him, looking intently into his eyes. Of course, Tom. Something happened. What is it? She asked, coming closer. Tom sighed, trying to put his thoughts together. He put his arm around her shoulders and gently pushed her towards the table, where they sat down opposite each other. Emma, need to understand what's going on, he began, trying to speak calmly. These rumors and doubts destroy me from the inside. I can't do this anymore. Emma looked at him with concern and compassion. Tom, you know that I love you and will never betray you. I've already told you that. What can I do to make you believe me? Her voice was shaking, and Tom could feel her pain. I know, Emma, but I need something more than just words, he replied, lowering his head. Decided to write you a letter. In it, I outlined all my thoughts and feelings. Please read it and we will discuss it together. Emma frowned, but took the envelope he handed her. She carefully opened it and began to read, while Tom watched her with bated breath. There was a tense silence in the room, broken only by the rustle of paper. In the letter, Tom outlined all his fears and doubts. He talked about how he was plagued by rumors at work, how he couldn't get rid of a sense of insecurity, and how it affected their relationship. He confessed his love for Emma and that he did not want to lose her, but he could no longer live in constant anxiety. When Emma finished reading, her eyes were full of tears. She put down the letter and looked at Tom, his heart squeezed with guilt and pain. "Tom, I understand how hard it is for you," she said softly. "But I can't believe you're seriously questioning my loyalty. I thought our love was stronger than that." Tom took her hands, his voice trembling. "Emma, I'm sorry. I don't want to hurt you. But these doubts, they destroyed my trust. I need to know the truth so we can move on." Emma took a deep breath, trying to control her emotions. "All right, Tom. Let's try to figure this out together. I am ready to answer any of your questions so that you can trust me again," she said, squeezing his hands. Tom nodded, feeling hope rise in his soul. They talked for a long time, trying to understand each other. Emma assured him of her love and loyalty, citing many examples and situations that proved her honesty. Tom listened, trying to absorb every word and realized that his fears might be unfounded. When the night had already come into its own, and the moonlight was shining through the curtains, Tom and Emma were sitting on the couch, hugging each other. The silence finally gave way to calmness, and they felt a connection that seemed to have been lost between them again. "Thanks for listening to me, Emma," Tom said, his voice low and sincere. "I promise that I will work on myself and our relationship. I don't want these doubts to destroy us." Emma smiled through her tears and kissed him. "I love you, Tom, and I believe that we can overcome this together," she replied, squeezing him in her arms. The following days passed in relative calm. Tom tried to spend more time with Emma, talk to her, share his thoughts and feelings. He felt that their relationship was beginning to recover, but somewhere in the back of his mind doubts still remained. One evening, while they were having dinner, the doorbell rang. Tom got up to open the door and saw Lucas and Jim standing in the doorway. "Hi guys, what brings you here? What is it?" he asked, surprised by their unexpected visit. Lucas and Jim exchanged glances, and Lucas stepped forward. "Tom, we need to talk. It's important," he said in a serious tone. Tom invited them in and they sat down in the living room. Emma brought coffee and joined the conversation. "We wanted to talk about the rumors that are going around at work," Jim began. "We did a little investigation and found out who is behind them." Tom tensed, his heart beating faster. "Who? What is it?" he asked, barely able to contain his impatience. "This is Jessica," Lucas replied. "She's been trying to get your attention for a long time, and when she realized she couldn't do it, she started spreading rumors to ruin your relationship with Emma." Emma breathed a sigh of relief, and Tom felt a huge weight fall off his shoulders. "Thanks, guys. You have no idea how much this means to us," he said, squeezing Emma's hand. "We just wanted to help," Jim replied, smiling. When the friends left, Tom and Emma sat in silence for a long time, digesting what they had heard. Tom felt that now they had a chance to restore trust and start all over again. "We'll get through this, Emma," he said, looking into her eyes. "I promise I won't let doubts ruin our relationship anymore." Emma smiled and kissed him. "I believe you, Tom, and I also promise to always be there for you and support you." They hugged, feeling the lost harmony between them being restored. The new day brought with it the promise of clarity. Tom, who had thought over all the events of the last few weeks, felt ready for an open and honest conversation. After the revelations about Jessica and her manipulations, he was determined to restore trust and harmony in his relationship with Emma. He understood that to do this, it was necessary not only to eliminate doubts, but also to open their hearts to each other. When Tom returned home, he saw that Emma was already waiting for him in the kitchen. She smiled at him, but there was still a shadow of anxiety in her eyes. "Hello, my love," she said softly, coming up to him and hugging him. "How was your day?" "Hi, Emma. It's been a long day, but productive," he replied, hugging her tightly in return. "We need to talk. Let's sit down." Emma nodded and led him into the living room. They settled down on the couch, and Tom took her hands, feeling their warmth and support. "Emma, I want us to discuss everything openly and honestly," he began, trying not to miss a single important word. "After I found out the truth about Jessica, I realized that we need to trust each other more and talk about everything that worries us." Emma nodded, her eyes full of understanding and willingness to listen. "I agree, Tom. I also want there to be no secrets or omissions between us," she replied. "These weeks have been very difficult for both of us, and I think this time has become a test for us that we can overcome together." Tom took a deep breath and continued. "I want to start by telling you how much I regret letting doubts and rumors destroy our trust. I shouldn't have given in to those words so easily. I'm sorry, Emma." She squeezed his hands tighter, her eyes glistening with tears. "Tom, I understand how difficult it was for you. I saw how it tormented you, and it hurt me to see you like this. But I forgive you. We must look forward and work to make our trust even stronger." Tom nodded, feeling his heart fill with warmth and relief. They talked for a long time, discussing all the events that led them to this moment. Each of them shared their feelings and experiences, trying to understand each other more deeply. "I think we need to spend more time together," Emma suggested when the conversation had died down. "We are both so busy with work and daily chores that sometimes we forget to devote time to each other." "You're right," Tom agreed. "We must make efforts to maintain our communication and intimacy. This will help us avoid similar situations in the future." Emma smiled and suggested, "How about we start with small steps? For example, having dinner together every evening and discussing the past day." Tom nodded, a smile lighting up his face. "That's a great idea. And maybe we could plan a little weekend together to get away from everything and focus only on us." Emma was happy to support his suggestion, and they began discussing where they would like to go and how to spend their time. The next day, Tom came to work with a light heart. He felt that their conversation had brought the necessary relief and was the first step towards restoring their relationship. Jim met him in the office with an interested look. "Hi, Tom. How are you?" "What is it?" he asked, coming up to his desk. "Hi, Jim. It's getting better, thanks," Tom replied, feeling his confidence grow with each word. Jim smiled and patted him on the shoulder. "I'm glad to hear that. If you need help or support, you know that we are always there." Tom nodded, grateful for the support. He was immersed in his work again, but now his thoughts were clear and he could focus on tasks without constantly feeling anxious. In the evening, when Tom and Emma returned home, they had a romantic dinner. They cooked together, laughed, and shared stories from their day. It was the first step towards restoring their intimacy, and they both enjoyed every moment. After dinner, they sat on the couch, hugging each other, and continued the conversation. "You know, Tom, I was thinking that we need to find some common hobbies," Emma said, looking into his eyes. "This will help us to get even closer and always have something that will unite us." Tom thought about it and replied, "That's a great idea. Maybe we could start doing something new together. For example, going to dance lessons or doing sports." Emma laughed and winked at him. "Dancing lessons sound tempting. I've always wanted to learn how to dance, and it's going to be even more fun with you." Tom smiled, imagining them on the dance floor. "Then it's settled. I'll look for courses, and we'll start studying," he said enthusiastically. These small but important steps helped them gradually rebuild what had been lost. They realized that their love and trust could become even stronger if they worked on it together. A few days later, Tom and Emma had already signed up for dance classes and were looking forward to the first class. They began to walk together more often, visit cafes and restaurants, share their thoughts and dreams. One evening, when they returned from dancing, Tom noticed that Emma looked thoughtful. "Emma, is everything okay?" "What is it?" he asked, sitting down next to her on the sofa. Emma sighed and replied, "Yes, Tom. I'm just thinking about how all this could have happened. These rumors, gossip. Why do people so easily believe in the bad and don't want to see the good?" Tom nodded, understanding her feelings. People often act out of envy or malice. But what matters is how we respond to it. "We have to be strong and not let them ruin our lives," he said, hugging her. Emma snuggled up to him, and they sat there, enjoying the silence and comfort. "You're right, Tom. We must look forward and not let doubts destroy our happiness," she said quietly. Tom smiled and kissed her on the forehead. "I promise that I will work to ensure that our trust is unshakable. And I know that we will cope with this together," he assured. These words became a new oath for them, a confirmation of their determination and willingness to move forward despite all the trials. They knew that new challenges were ahead of them, but now they were ready for them, confident in their love and support for each other. When Tom went to bed, he felt that he had taken an important step towards restoring their relationship. He knew there was still a lot of work ahead, but now that they were together and open to each other, they could overcome any obstacles. And although the future remained uncertain, Tom was sure of one thing: they would go through all the trials together, holding hands tightly and believing in their love. It's been a few months since Tom and Emma started rebuilding their relationship. The time spent together helped them get closer and understand each other even better. They attended dance classes, walked in the park, traveled, and even found a common hobby: photography. It seemed that their lives had regained harmony and joy. One evening, as they were preparing for another dance class, the doorbell rang. Tom went to open the door and saw a woman in a business suit standing on the threshold, who was clearly agitated. "Hello, I'm Julia, the lawyer. I need to talk to you and your wife," she said quickly. Tom looked at her, puzzled, but invited her in. Emma, hearing the conversation, came out of the kitchen and joined them. "Good evening. How can we help?" "What is it?" she asked politely. Julia entered the living room and sat down on the sofa, holding a folder with documents in her hands. "I came to see you about the Jessica case. She is accused of fraud and other crimes, and your testimony may prove decisive," she began. Emma and Tom looked at each other, not understanding what this could lead to. "Fraud? What are you talking about?" Tom asked, squeezing Emma's hand. "Jessica has been engaged in illegal activities for a long time, including forgery of documents and manipulation of real estate. Recently, the police launched an investigation, and we found out that she was trying to destroy your relationship in order to distract attention from her machinations," Julia explained. Emma put her hand to her lips in shock. "But why did she choose us? What is it?" she asked. "Jessica believed that by destroying your relationship, she would be able to use your vulnerability for her own purposes. She planned to forge documents for your property and sell it," Julia replied. Tom couldn't believe his ears. All this time they were puppets in the hands of an insidious swindler. "What should we do now? What is it?" he asked, trying to make sense of what he had heard. "The police have already arrested Jessica, but we need your testimony to complete the investigation. We also want to make sure that everything is in order with your property," Julia said. Tom and Emma agreed to cooperate. They told Julia about everything that had happened in recent months, provided the necessary documents, and gave statements to the police. After the lawyer and the police left, Tom and Emma sat in silence, thinking about everything they had learned. "I can't believe we've been in danger all this time," Emma said softly, snuggling up to Tom. "But now we know the truth. And most importantly, we got through it together," Tom replied, hugging her tighter. The next day, Tom and Emma went to the police to complete the formalities. They were met by Detective Brown, who is leading Jessica's case. "Thank you for coming. Your testimony is very important to us," he said, shaking their hands. "We have already started the process of returning your property." Tom and Emma thanked the detective and signed the necessary documents. When they left the station, Tom breathed a sigh of relief. "Now we can put this behind us and move on," he said, looking at Emma. "Yes," she smiled. "But the most important thing is that we are back together and ready for new challenges." A few more weeks passed, and Tom and Emma's lives gradually returned to normal. They continued to attend dance classes and take pictures together. However, one evening, while they were relaxing at home, Tom received an unexpected call from Detective Brown. "Tom, we have some news. We found some new evidence that might interest you," the detective said. Tom tensed, holding the phone to his ear. "What kind of evidence?" he asked. "It's about Jessica. We managed to find out that she didn't work alone. She had accomplices who are still at large," the detective explained. "What does this mean for us?" Tom asked anxiously. "This means that you may need additional protection and caution. We will continue to investigate and inform you of all new details," the detective assured. Tom thanked him and hung up, looking at Emma anxiously. "We need to be careful. Jessica didn't work alone, and her accomplices could be dangerous," he said. Emma sighed, but there was determination in her eyes. "We'll get through this, Tom. We have already overcome a lot, and now we are not afraid of anything," she replied. Tom nodded and hugged her. They knew that new challenges lay ahead, but they were confident in their strength and ability to overcome any obstacles. Several months have passed, and Jessica's case is finally over. Her accomplices were arrested, and Tom and Emma were able to recover their property and get on with their lives. They felt stronger and closer to each other than ever. One evening, sitting on the balcony and watching the sunset, Tom turned to Emma. "Do you know what I've learned all this time?" "What is it?" he asked, looking into her eyes. "What?" she smiled. "That our love and trust are the most valuable things we have. And no obstacles can destroy us if we are together," he said, squeezing her hand. Emma nodded, her eyes shining with happiness. "I figured that out too, Tom. And I am grateful for all the trials that we have passed, because they have made us stronger," she replied. They hugged, feeling their hearts beating in unison. This moment was the beginning of a new chapter in their lives, a chapter full of love, trust, and endless possibilities. Now they knew that together they could overcome any difficulties, and they were looking forward to the future that they would create together.
That's how the story ended. Leave your opinion in the comments about this story. We will be interested to know what you think. Also, don't forget to give us a like and subscribe to our channel. That way you won't miss new exciting stories. Good luck to you.